Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. You know what? Let's talk about Ciara for a minute. Now, I've been reading the comments and stuff like that. Not just my comments, but on some of their clips and stuff like that on YouTube. And some people that really like the fact that they love the fact that Ciara's back and she's killing it, this, that, and the third, and ooh, so great. And then there's the comments where it's just like, it's very difficult watching Ciara act this way. Acting this defensive, bitchy kind of attitude. And, after she finished talking to Theo, she goes over to Sean's place. And she has a talk with him for a little bit. And, I think, I don't remember exactly how it goes in the beginning. He's talking about, his engagement and everything. No, she's talking about her engagement and everything like that, and marrying Theo. And then Claire comes out the blue. And I'm like, because Claire comes out the blue, and Claire's like, well, you can't do that. You can't sit there and marry Theo to sit there and forget Ben and yada yada yada. And I'm like, Claire, what she does with her time is her damn business. Okay? You coming out your mouth and just saying, well, you can't. Who the hell do you think you are? So I was like, yo, you need to check yourself. I get it. See, Claire and Ben are friends and they care about each other and yada yada yada. But it was like, yo, that was just a wrong move. So, of course, Ciara's like, she says something about along the lines or whatever of, two psychopaths and yada yada yada. And I'm like, Sean, you need to check this chick. Okay, I get it, she's your sister and everything like that, but you're not just gonna sit there and let her talk to your daughter like that, right? Like you seriously not just gonna let her do that, right? So the commercial break comes back from the commercial break. And Sean does sit there and check her for that. Like, yo, don't come at her like that. And, she was all like, well, it's true and yada, yada, yada. I was like, sweetheart, how the hell are you going to sit there and walk up in somebody else's house and start disrespecting their daughter? Like, that's just cool. I'm angry, I'm mad, I'm Mrs. Badass, so I can sit there and say what I want. Like, are you serious? Listen, I get it. He's your brother, but at the end of the day, that's his daughter. Okay? There's certain lines you just don't cross. So, he's it's not there being protective of her like he should. But then Sean comes out of nowhere. Well, for me, I felt like he just kind of made a mistake. He was like, you belong with Ben and this, that, and the third. And the minute that he said you belong with Ben, I was like, oh no. Listen, I'm not trying to trying to defend Ciara, but when you sit there and start saying you belong with someone else, like your property, nah, bro. You done screwed up. And of course, Claire comes in there, she tries to start talking, like, well, at one point she was like, yo, listen, I get it, you don't have a memory, but I'm not going to sit there and be your emotional punching bag anymore. We're not doing that. I'm just going to sit back. I'm tired of groveling and begging and stuff like that. When you remember, but I'm not doing this anymore. And I was like, because Ciara has been sitting there talking sideways to Claire the minute that she woke up. And yeah, I get it. She has selective amnesia and stuff like that. And she's still sitting there thinking about, like, her mind frame is still back in those years, back in that emotional state. But I'm like, yo, listen, it's obviously not that same day. And you can't just be sitting there talking out your mouth to anybody however the hell you please just because, you're mad at them or you're upset with them. I'm like, you can have, like... I'm like, aren't y'all, like, I get it to some extent, but I'm like, I feel like there's a lot of times where she just crosses the line. And it's like, yo, for me, I just get to a point, I'm just, like, personally tired of sitting there listening to her. I'm just like, yo. I'm personally done with the character. yeah, she's better than Chanel, but I mean, Chanel is trash. So it's like, come on, you don't have to really try that hard. But on the other side of town, you got Ben Smith there talking to Marlena, and pretty much the gist of this conversation is that Ben, Marlena's like, yo, she may not want to remember you. She may not want to sit there and be with you. You may have to sit and accept life without her. It sucks. It's painful. It's sad. But it's reality. And of course, Ben is not hearing any of it because Ben is like, the way Ben feels, Ben is like, well, what if I give up on her? And then she gets her memory back. And then I gotta sit there and try to explain how I gave up on her. It's pretty easy. You just... it's called reality, B. Like, I'm pretty sure she would understand. And if she wouldn't understand, then when she can kick rocks. Like, but Ben is just like, I'm not doing it. Apparently there's, Ben asks, what would you do? To Marlena as far as if, John forgot his memory. But apparently, that already happened. Or something along those lines happened. The point is, Ben is just like, I'm going to do me, and I'm going to sit there and still fight for her, and that's just how it's going to be. And I was like, okay, cool. So, this whole hour or 30-minute session, you just heard what she said, and just said, alright, yeah, I get it, but screw all that. I'm going to sit there and do me. Awesome. That's great. I don't know. I personally couldn't sit there and deal with somebody like that. Like, that's a little bit too much attitude for me. Not sitting there trying to crawl on glass right now. Really, bro? But yeah, no, I'm not sitting there trying to deal with that. But, Ben, you do you, because clearly you don't seem like you give a damn. And so he meets, well, apparently, he got to Justin's house first. And, Sierra's like, well, what are you doing here? I'm like, sweetheart, you don't own this town. I love how she strolled in there and was like, what are you doing here? This chick really in her mind thinks she's some sort of queen where she could just start telling people like, oh, well, what are you doing here? Like, he's not allowed to sit and breathe oxygen in a place that she deems is not, I can't with her. I really can't. But she walks in there with her usual entitled bitchy attitude, and it's like, well, what are you doing here? And Ben is like, I'm gonna sit there and get Justin to sit and represent me. And Sierra's like, well, you can't do that because I'm getting Justin to sit there and represent me. Sweetheart, didn't you just sit there and say like 5 minutes ago that, there's a bunch of lawyers that you could sit there and get? But now you want to sit there and fight with him over getting Justin as a lawyer? Like, what are y'all, both 12 years old? Like, what is this? This is such clownish oh my god, okay. Such clownish behavior. Now, of course, you got Theo talking to Nicole, and of course, Theo's like, oh, well, he talks about his engagement and how he's happy and she's happy for him and stuff like that. And then, Theo's all like, oh, well, I wish Ben would sit there and just leave her alone and leave us alone and yada, yada, yada. And Nicole's like, oh, well, if you have any problems, I'll sit there and help you. Help you do what, Nicole? What are you going to do? Now, I know she was sitting there saying that just to sit there and suck up to him so that way, he can help her with the whole phone thing. But, I don't know. The way that Theo was sitting there talking, it was just one of those things. It was like, okay. But, the sad thing is that I still feel that Theo, in a lot of ways, is being a snake. And, but I also feel like he's just kind of being, a little reckless with his heart, So it's kind of both of those emotions. I still feel like he's being a snake. But here's the thing. Ben is not making himself look that much better, okay? He's coming across as, like, creepy and stalkerish. locking Ciara in a room for like about 5 minutes, like, oh, I'm not gonna let you go. But then proceeds to let her go after a good 5 minutes, like, hey, this is a test of trust. No, this isn't. What are you doing? Like, now you're just being a weirdo. Like, I can't with Ben, Ciara, and Theo. This quote unquote love triangle is just, well, stupid, to be honest. It's stupid and it's annoying. But yeah, Theo and Nicole talk for a little bit, and Nicole pretty much gets Theo to look at Brady's phone to sit there and try to get Kristen's number. At first, Theo's like, I don't know about that. I mean, she's family to me. I know she done some terrible things, but I don't know. But Nicole convinces Theo to do it, and Theo's like, I'll do it. And I'm just like, I don't know about Nicole. Nicole, sometimes I get why she's trying to do what she's trying to do, but it's just like now you're sitting there rope. I was gonna sit there and say poor Theo, but I mean, let's be honest. I can't. I was just about to sit there and say poor Theo, but now I sit there and remember what he's doing. But I don't know. I guess she's gonna sit there and try to find another way or whatever. I don't know. Now Sammy's sitting there trying to burn a letter, but she has to sit there and try to find the matches. She finds the matches, and she's just about to go to the fireplace, and EJ's like, what are you doing? And Sammy's like, oh, I'm about to light a fire. In July? In July in 80-degree weather, you're going to sit there and light a fire. This makes sense. This is just how Looney Tunes that Sammy has been acting. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I find it kind of annoying, but also kind of hilarious at the same time. It's like, you're going to really sit there and try to tell EJ that you're going to sit there and light a fire in July. That makes sense to you. I'm pretty sure she was a force of nature back in the day, and a great schemer, this, that, and the third. But now she's just running around looking like a damn clown. So, EJ's like, what's going on or whatever, and she's looking at the letter. And at one point, EJ's like, alright, fine, I'll sit there and light the fire, whatever. And of course, Sammy's like, no, I have another way to get us all warm. I really try not to throw up in my mouth, but, anyway, she pretty much decides to have sex with him to distract him from going across the room to look at that letter. So, with that being said, they pretty much have sex. And once again, EJ apologizes for him, pretty much being kind of a terrible husband to her, aka being a dick to her. And of course, Amy's like, no, it's okay, it's all in the past. And it's like, I'm not gonna lie, the way she's sitting there, like, just trying to justify or trying to sit there and act like what EJ did wasn't that bad just annoys me, because she literally came up to Lucas and she was in tears and she was all just in shambles about the way that EJ was treating her, at her lowest point. And of course she, sought comfort by Lucas, and now she's sitting there acting like the stuff that he did just wasn't that big of a deal. Oh, it's in the past. It's fine. Whatever. Like, are you kidding me? Like, Sammy is just irritating me just all around. Like, it's amazing. She's back in Salem, and already she's found the way to sit there and just irritate the living life out of me. But, yeah, EJ falls asleep, and Sammy goes downstairs to start, trying to burn the letter again. But, of course, you can't just burn a letter like any normal person's. Okay, light on fire. Alright, that's the end of that. No, she has to stand there, light the match, stare, start gloating about this, that, and the third, and then she decides to light them. Then she decides to try to put it on fire, but she gets a call, so she steps away for a little bit, which I don't really know why she had to step away from the object that she's trying to burn to make sure the evidence is just destroyed. No, she just walks away like she's gonna walk in another part of like the house. Like, why can't you just have that conversation in the living room? That literally made no sense, but whatever. Anyway, she walks away, and somebody takes, I guess, like, not the fire poker, but something to save the letter. Like, they're looking at Sammy the whole time while she's on the phone and walking away. Now, granted, she probably just admitted, you know, she was talking about, like, oh, well, this is the last evidence to sit there and know that I slept with Lucas or whatever. It was like, oh, why don't you say it louder? You know, somebody could just walk on in at any point in time, because it's not like there's not enough people in that damn house, but whatever, sure. So she walks away, and whoever this person is picks up the letter and saves it from being completely burnt and torn up. So, I guess we'll find out. Who would that actually be now that I think about it? Maybe it was Lucas. I doubt it, but I don't know who else would be invested. Who else would be invested into trying to find out Sammy's secret? Xander was tied up doing something else, and so was Nicole. So, the only other people that know about it is Ava. No, she doesn't know about it. No, she knows about the Xander thing. I wonder who it's going to be. I guess we'll just wait and see. Now, the last scene is pretty much Gwen talking to Jack, and Jack, you know, because Gwen was not there reading the article online. It's always funny to me whenever I sit there and see people still read the newspaper and in this show, and then you see people like Gwen that's not there reading stuff on a tablet. It's like, I don't know. I just, every time I think about a newspaper, I sit there and think about a payphone, and it's just like, those things are still around. Anyway, so she's reading the article. Jack walks in. She gets all jumpy. They start talking about how to sneeze, and anyway, they start talking about the article, and you know, Jack starts asking her questions, like, oh, I left your name out of, you know, the news article that he wrote about Dr. Snyder, and you know, about the details about the police investigation. And pretty much Jack was like, so, you know, why would they be investigating you? And he had some tips or whatever as far as, well, no, he didn't actually have any tips or whatever, but he was wondering why, you know, she was being investigated and stuff like that. And, you know, Gwen was like, oh, my nosy cousin Trip said something about, you know, some sort of awkward tension or something like that. And Jack was like, yeah, I remember that when I walked in the house and he was making a house call, and the vibe just, I wasn't feeling it. Like, it was just wrong. It was off. Like, so anyway, long story short, Jack was like, listen, if there's something you want to sit there and tell me, if you know something about Snyder's death, tell me. You know, like, I got your back or whatever. And, you know, Gwen is like, you know, I don't know anything, yada, yada, yada. Just being like, well, not defensive, but trying to stick to her story. Xander walks in, and Xander looks at the situation like she's about to fold. So Xander is like, hey, you need to sit there and back off of her. Like, why are you interrogating her for? And yada, yada, yada. And at this point, Jack is like, one, rude, and two, you know, I was a little suspicious before, but now the fact that you're just randomly coming to her rescue, it seems like you know something. So do you know something? Do you know something? Do both of y'all know something? What is going on? Xander sits there and tries to cover by sitting there saying, you know, it looked like you was interrogating her. Like, she didn't really know anything. Like, I was there, you know, and I just want to sit there and try to get along with her. And, you know, everything is, you know, like, we're just trying to get along. I'm trying to look out for her, so. He puts his arm around Gwen, and Gwen is like, yeah, I wouldn't say that. I would sit there and say I tolerate him a little bit more. And, you know, Jack is like, listen, you know, I love you both. I care about you both. I will help you out if you need it. Just say something and don't wait until it's too late, pretty much. He walks off. At this point, Gwen is pissed because Gwen is like, yo, now you just made him even more suspicious. You idiot. You know, he calls him, you know, she calls him an idiot or whatever. At this point, you know, Xander's like, yo, I was just trying to help. You know, and also I'm getting tired you call me a damn idiot. They start arguing a little bit. And at this point, Xander's like, yo, listen, you act like you don't need my help. Like, you got this. I mean, if you got this, then you wouldn't mind if I sat there and tell Jack what really happened to your baby, you know? And why you just practically ran poor Abigail out of town. Now, I'm not going to sit there and call her poor, because the things that came out of that woman's mouth was insanely cruel. It was insanely cruel. So I wouldn't sit there and say poor Abigail or whatever. But anyway, Xander was like, yo, listen, I will sit there and tell Jack everything. And, you know, Gwen pretty much like, no, you're not going to do that. And he was like, watch me. So he starts to walk off. Gwen grabs his arm. And, you know, Xander's like, yo, let go of my arm. One thing leads to the next, and of course, they start making out. So, yeah. But of course, if you saw the promos, you already know that. I'm sitting there thinking about the scene with Ciara and Ben, and how they're getting like really close to each other, and Ben's doing this thing or like whatever he's doing, and I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what is that? I get that you're like talking, you're trying to fight about who's gonna get, you know, who's gonna get Justin, you know, represent them or whatever. But like, what was this about? Like, it's so funny because, you know, when I'm at my day job or whatever, I get a couple that comes in, they talk about GH and days and stuff. And, you know, she was sitting there talking about how Ben's like a great actor. And I'm like, yeah. And listen, I get it. That's not him. That's not him. He didn't decide to sit there and do that on his own. There was a director that was in charge of whatever the hell he was doing. But sometimes I'm just like, Ben, I don't know. I'm just not there just thinking about that scene where he's doing like this sort of like, yeah, like he's trying to challenge her. But it just comes across just looking so stupid that you're just like, what am I watching? Like, what is this? Also, sometimes I don't like the music. I know it's just kind of random to sit there and say. And it's been, you know, that music has been there for a while. And, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I still have not gotten used to that. I haven't gotten used to that. This music that they play, like it's a helicopter in the background, like with something like dramatic or intense is about to happen. And it's just like, whenever something good is about to happen, that music comes on. And it's just like, oh, come on, seriously? We really have to sit there and do that? Like, sometimes I'm just like, yo, let me just kind of mute it before that comes on. Because that, for me, it just kind of takes me out of it. And just like, why'd you have to put on that cringy-ass music for? But, oh, and of course, Xander was sitting there having a quick chit-chat with Nicole. Nothing major except for the fact that Xander was like, you should be thanking me. Because I got you on the trail of trying to find out, you know, evidence to back off Sammy. Which is true, because Nicole was going to drop it. And Xander was the one that really pushed for it. And now she's getting a lot closer. And so Xander was like, alright, yeah, so I want to hear thank you. You could write a letter, I don't really care how you do it. Other than that, I'm not going to lie, I don't really remember too much of it, so... But with that being said, I think that's pretty much about it. If I missed anything in the comment section, please write it down in the comment section below. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Definitely stay safe, because it is the Wild West out there. And I mean, it's just like... It's like people just don't care anymore. They're just doing whatever they want. Like... Literally, they're acting like there's just no consequences in the world. So definitely keep your head on the swivel. But yes, with that being said, I hope everyone has a great weekend. Be safe. See you in the next video.